Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles, and I welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is, are the Clippers better off with Nicolas Batum than Montrezl Harrell? So that's the topic I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, be sure to check out our Dreamerspro Podcast, which we have linked in the description below. Be on the lookout for our Dreamerspro Premium platform that we're launching. I believe it is sometime next week. And also be on the lookout for Dreamerspro.com that we're going to be launching sometime in January. So please be on the lookout for that. Anyway, let me get into the topic here. So first of all, let's start off this topic by talking about some of the offseason moves. I know we're kind of doing a little bit of revisionist history here, but it makes sense to put things in context. So in the offseason, we all know that there were a lot of moves really between the top two teams in LA, right? These are the number one and the number two seeds in the Western Conference last season. And last season, the Lakers lost some key pieces. They lost Danny Green. They lost Rajon Rondo. They lost Dwight Howard. They lost JaVale McGee, right? But they were able to get some players in return, like Dennis Schroeder, Wesley Matthews, and they also picked up Montrezl Harrell, who was the sixth man of the year. And last season, Montrezl Harrell averaged like 18.5 points per game and 7.1, I believe, rebounds per game. And he's a really high energy guy. Guy plays with a lot of energy, rolls to the basket, can get a lot of offensive rebounds, and really gets his buckets in the paint. And he plays with a lot of force, right? So although he's an undersized power forward, he can still hang with guys because of the way he plays. He plays big. He doesn't play a finesse game. He plays really big. Now on the Clippers side, they were actually able to pick up some key additions in Nicolas Batum, Luke Kennard, but also Serge Ibaka, who was meant to replace Montrezl Harrell, who I believe Serge does way more for the Clippers than Montrezl Harrell, because Serge can actually play the center, 7-footer, who can stretch the floor, hit the three, who can pick and pop, hit the mid-range shot, could also roll to the basket, also block shots, because early in his career, he led the league in blocks 2 times, so he gives them some athleticism at the rim as far as blocking shots and defending the paint, kind of similar to what a JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard does. But I do believe Dwight Howard is a better defensive player than Serge Ibaka, because Dwight Howard, I think, is a 3-time defensive player of the year. So the Lakers losing him was a really big piece, but they were also able to pick up Marc Gasol, who does other things as well. Plays a similar role to Serge Ibaka, stretching the floor, can hit threes, was a very smart guy, can also facilitate the ball. So the Lakers and Clippers were able to do their things when it came to offseason moves. But the one player that went under the radar was Nicolas Batum, right? He was a guy that none of us were really paying attention to because he was waived by the Charlotte Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets was like, hey man, just take your money and leave. Like, we don't need you. And he wasn't a good fit for that team, obviously, if they waived him. So when the Clippers were able to pick him up, and I think this goes to the credit of Lawrence Frank, their coaching staff, and Tyronn Lue, just to show you that they have some really smart guys, but also because I think they were planning on running a new offense with the triangle offense to kind of suit Kawhi and Paul George and these guys, and just to facilitate more ball movement for that team. So they knew that they needed a smart playmaker like Nicolas Batum, and that's exactly what he brings to the floor. First of all, he brings great playmaking. He can see the floor. He can read defenses very well. He's a good defender, a serviceable defender at playing small forward. But he can also shoot. He can also hit an open three and put defenses at jeopardy by stretching the floor. And overall, he's a very great team chemistry guy. He seems to be a guy that gets along with people very well. It seems like, given the fact that him and Kawhi Leonard do have a history, although they were never teammates, but they have a healthy respect for one another for going against each other in the playoffs. I think this was when he was playing with the Portland Trail Blazers, if I'm not mistaken. Now, if I look at his numbers in depth this season, he's averaging 6.7 points, 7.3 rebounds, right? We're not really focused on the points because his role on that team is not to score, but he's getting you 7.3 rebounds and 3.7 assists. And he was meant to be a player to replace JaMychal Green, right? And JaMychal Green was a guy I really liked for the Clippers last season because he was a no-nonsense guy, came in, did his job, hit threes, played defense, and I like JaMychal Green, to be quite honest with you, and I felt, and it stung me when they lost him. But with Nicolas Batum, I think Nicolas Batum brings he brings something else, because he can hit threes and all of that, but his playmaking, I think, is the key that he brings to the floor for this for this team, and we were able to see his impact immediately. Given the fact that Marcus Morris Sr. has been out of the lineup because of some, I think he's been suffering a sore knee, so that's the reason he hasn't started any of these games. He was the guy to come in and replace the guy, and many of us didn't know what to expect. And man, in the first 3 games, he's really shown that he's really shown his value. Now, obviously, the Clippers did get blown out by 50 points last night. So, obviously one could say, but where was his impact in that game? But no one showed up in that game. So it's not like as if we're going to just say, well, Nicolas Batum could have been the reason that they won the game. We're not going to overstate his value. We're not saying he's an all-star or something like that, right? So we're not going to hold that loss on him and say, well, Nicolas Batum, was there. But I remember listening to, who was it? Reggie Miller. I think it was during the Denver Nuggets game. And he was pointing to the fact that he really thinks that this guy is going to bring a lot to this team. And it shows once again that basketball players, people that actually play the game, know more about the game than analysts, it seems, right? It seems. I mean, funny enough, go figure. The guys that played the game would know more. Right, and Reggie Miller could see something that most of us couldn't see because he's a former player. He knows plays. He's been in the NBA, so he was able to notice something that most of us didn't notice. And he made that point, and it turns out that he's right. That this guy is actually a high impact. He's a high impact guy, and I think is one of the reasons he's helped this team get off to a 2-1 start this season. Right, the Clippers are ranked at number 4. I think the NBA ranked the Clippers in their power rankings as the number 4 team in the league, but there are teams ahead of them that have worse records. I mean, I just looked at the Lakers. The Lakers are 2-2, right? But they have them ranked higher, and I think it's because of the what is this? The recency bias that we see in sports. Because of that 50-point loss, people felt, I think the NBA was able to shape opinions very quick. Not the NBA, the sports media was able to kind of shape opinions, and now people thought, oh my God, right? And it's an overreaction to that, and that's the reason why they have them ranked number 4th. But they have a better record than some of the teams ahead of them, so that also plays a role. Now, do I think he will be a weapon for this team in the playoffs? Absolutely. I think he'll be a weapon in the playoffs for these guys, because by that time you're talking about 69 games from now. 69 games from now, because it's going to be a 72 game season. I think the Clippers would have been rolling by then. I think they would have gotten their triangle offense down, and they would have known their rotations. I think they would have probably have an 8 or 9 man rotation by the time the playoff starts. And having a guy like that, like a playmaker on the floor like that, really helps the team. I think he can be a big impact guy either on the first unit or the second unit, right? If they have Marcus Morris Sr. starting games, which I prefer, then you have this guy in your second unit. He can kind of calm things down and take away some of the ball handling responsibilities from Lou Williams, who I do not trust for making decisions, late game decisions. I just don't trust him, right? I've seen him have too many unforced turnovers all on his own. So if you have someone like Nicolas Batum in there with Ivica Zubac, with Lou Williams, with Luke Kennard, who can kind of settle down the offense for the team, I think his impact is going to be felt down the line. Now, obviously, health plays a role in all of these different things, but thus far, I think he's been a better fit, to be quite honest with you. And although he was meant to replace JaMychal Green, his impact has gone beyond that of JaMychal Green, because JaMychal Green was a great 3-and-D guy. He can play defense, hit threes, and all of this, but that was pretty much it. But this guy can do that and much, much more. So for me, I think he's been a better fit overall than Montrezl Harrell. And because Montrezl Harrell, although he was a 6th man of the year, but he was just undersized. And when the Lakers go against bigger teams, they're going to have to figure out how they're going to work with a Montrezl Harrell as their power forward standing at 6'7". So that's something they're going to have to pay attention to. Now, last year I did pick the Clippers to beat the Lakers, but I relied on the fact of Montrezl Harrell being a very physical player to be able to get under AD's skin and, trying to rough him up a little bit, but it didn't work with Nikola Jokic. So for me, overall, I think the Clippers are better off with Nicolas Batum than Montrezl Harrell. So what I want to know from you guys is, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about it? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, be sure to check out the next video that we have linked at this video. Be sure to check that out. If you enjoyed this one, you're definitely going to enjoy that one. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day and catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.